area, by the way, which goes across the bridge a little bit. And our contract says we have to design a town center there. We have to make that, you know where the supermarket and all that is, we have to make that better looking and work better. And we have everything else, you know, all the way to Floribama, and of course nothing to be done because this is already park. But basically, our attention is where this, you know, the thick part of the island. Next. Okay, we have a land use map, which you know what it is. Now remember, land use is not zoning. Zoning is what's legally can happen. Land use is what's actually happened. I have never, in 35 years, seen such a mess in my life. It virtually has nothing to do with anything. So Marina did an analysis, and the reason you should understand this is that your zoning categories are really screwed up. Like, for example, single-family house also allows duplex, also allows multifamily, up to what, 4 stories? Yeah, at least. Up to 4 stories. So those of you who have single-family zoning, what can happen next to you, and there are limits like parking and acreage and so forth, but basically it's a mess. So the R1, which is residential, is very broad, and then when you get to the high-rises, there's 5 categories of the highest density that are virtually indistinguishable. Okay, I could get a medieval theologian to read them and figure out what the tiny differences are. So what we're going to do is we're going to write a whole new code, and it's going to be perfectly clear. And R1 is going to be R1 for single-family houses, and we're not going to downzone anybody, but you're going to know what can happen. We're just going to clean up the code, and we'll be working on it this weekend. We've already mapped it. So we're not going to show you that now, I don't think, Marina.
Oh, we do. We have it.
Okay, we even have it. Okay. But this is land use. These are your building types. Okay. One of the things that I neglected to basically discuss in the early days. By the way, where's the seaside comparison?
It's before all the plan options.
Okay. One of the things I neglected to discuss, and it's the way I normally begin a charrette by saying, by the way, do you know what we're about? Because when you hire our firm, it's not neutral. It means you want a certain something. And what we do, and we have since Seaside in 1980, is we design walkable communities that are mixed use and mixed income. And they used to be called towns and villages. Okay, and that's the way America built itself up to about 1950. And there are residues of it all over America. Mostly they're in bad condition because the suburbs sucked out their energy. But you all know all the films, everything you see, you know, you recognize the types. They're main streets, and then there are townhouses and people that live above the shop and that kind of thing. And the streets are walkable and the cars move slowly. And virtually every film you've ever seen that has a public space in which people are standing and talking takes place in a traditional pre-war place, because no one stands on something that looks like a 4-laner and tries to make a movie. Because it's absurd. You can't stand there. You wouldn't willingly stand there. Because Perdido Key, and so there are 2 models in America. What happened was planning that since the very beginning, since Washington, D.C. and Williamsburg and Annapolis and Nantucket and Boston, was of a certain kind, European pattern, which actually isn't even European. It's the way humans always live. It's the same as Beijing. It's the same everywhere. Everywhere it's the same. It's the human habitat. In America first, when the automobile came in the attempt to accommodate the automobile, they changed the model completely. No one tried to make walking impossible, but as you accommodate the automobile, walking becomes progressively impossible. For example, for a driver to have no impediments driving on Perdido Key Drive, it becomes hostile to be there. Now, some hardy souls are walking on that. It's, to me, completely unbelievable. It's horrible to stand out there. It feels dangerous, and it is dangerous. It's really not a good... When I see somebody walking, I actually think, poor person. It's not like cool, you know? It's a completely poor person. That and the big parking lots and the whole idea of accommodating the car inadvertently made walking impossible.